This is 50 million naira. Take it and disappear from my son's life forever, Margaret said, handing over the paper check to Lily. Ethan Blake paced across the polished marble floors of his sprawling penthouse, his reflection trailing him in the floor-to-ceiling windows that framed the glittering city skyline. The view was breathtaking, a success he had worked so hard to build, but tonight, it brought him no solace. He raked a hand through his neatly cropped hair and let out a deep sigh. His mother, Margaret Blake, sat primarily on the edge of a leather armchair, flipping through a stack of glossy photographs. Across from her, his father, Richard Blake, leaned back with a cigar in hand, studying Ethan with a mix of amusement and exasperation. "You're 33, Ethan," Richard said, his voice carrying the weight of expectation. "You've built an empire, you're admired by the world, but you're still unmarried. It's time to stop being so picky. At your age, I was already married to your mother. What am I saying? We had you when I was 29. Margaret held up one of the photos, showcasing a stunning woman with perfectly coiffed hair and a radiant smile. "Ethan, your father is right. I want to carry my grandchildren. This is Sophia Thompson. Her family's wealth rivals ours, and she's well educated, well connected. Exactly the kind of woman you need by your side." Ethan barely glanced at the photo before turning away. "I don't need someone who checks all your boxes, Mom. I need someone who's genuine, someone who cares about more than money and status." Margaret's face tightened, her patience fraying. "Love isn't some fairy tale, Ethan. You need a partner who fits into your world. Do you think we built this legacy so you could throw it away on a whim?" Ethan stopped pacing and faced them, his frustration bubbling over. "You think this is about a whim? Do you know how exhausting it is to meet woman after woman who sees me as nothing more than a bank account? I want more than that. I deserve more than that." The room fell silent, the weight of his words settling over them. Richard exchanged a glance with Margaret, but before either could respond, Ethan grabbed his car keys from the counter. "I need some air," he muttered, striding toward the elevator. The tension in his chest didn't ease even as he pulled his sleek black Aston Martin onto the quiet streets. The city's glow blurred past him as he drove aimlessly, trying to shake the feeling of suffocation. Eventually, he spotted a familiar neon sign, Carter's Car Wash, and made an impulsive turn into the lot. It was a modest place, far from the high-end services he usually frequented, but Ethan had been there once before during a breakdown, and something about its unpretentious charm had stuck with him. Tonight, it felt like the perfect escape from his polished, artificial world. As he parked, he noticed the place seemed deserted. Only one figure moved near the washing station, a young woman in a simple t-shirt and jeans, her hair tied back in a loose ponytail. She was crouched beside a bucket, scrubbing the tires of an old sedan. Ethan stepped out of his car and approached, his shoes crunching softly on the gravel. The woman looked up, wiping her brow with the back of her hand. "Good evening," she said, her voice steady and calm. "Is the owner around?" Ethan asked, glancing around the empty lot. "That would be my dad," she replied, standing up. He had to step out for a bit. "I'm Lily, his daughter. I can help you." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "You work here?" "When I'm on break from school," she explained, picking up a sponge. "Don't worry, I know what I'm doing." Ethan hesitated. "I wasn't expecting a car wash run by a student." Lily laughed lightly, her tone unbothered. "And I wasn't expecting a customer who looks like he walked out of a luxury magazine. I guess we're both out of place." Ethan smirked despite himself, intrigued by her confidence. "Fair enough. Let's see what you've got." Lily set to work, her movements quick and precise. As she cleaned, Ethan found himself drawn to her unassuming demeanor. There was no pretense, no attempt to impress him. She was simply doing her job with quiet determination. "You don't seem like the type to spend your weekends washing cars," Ethan remarked after a while, leaning against a nearby post. "And you don't seem like the type to spend your weekends at a car wash." Lily shot back, a hint of amusement in her voice. Ethan chuckled, appreciating her sharp wit. "Touché. So, why are you here?" Lily paused, wringing out a cloth before answering. "Because it's what my family needs. My dad's been running this place for years, and I help out whenever I can." It's how I pay for my tuition third-year business student, she added with a small, proud smile. The honesty in her answer caught Ethan off guard. He was used to polished, rehearsed responses from people trying to impress him, trying to form an American accent while talking to him. But not this one. She used her local accent with pride. Business student, planning to take over the family car wash. Lily laughed, shaking her head. Not exactly, but I've learned a lot from my dad about hard work and running a business. It's not glamorous, but it's honest. Their conversation stretched longer than Ethan intended, and by the time Lily handed back his keys, he felt a strange sense of ease, something he hadn't experienced in years. As he drove away, Ethan realized that for the first time in a long while, he'd met someone who made him feel human, someone who seemed real. The next morning, Ethan sat at his office desk, his gaze drifting to the skyline outside the large window. The previous night's conversation with Lily replayed in his mind, her candidness, her calm confidence, and the way she seemed entirely unaffected by his status. He sipped his coffee, still distracted. For years, he had been surrounded by polished perfection, women dressed in designer clothes, walking into his life with an air of expectation, women with fake American and British accents. But Lily had been different, practical, straightforward, and, above all, real. "Sir," the voice of his assistant, Claire, pulled him out of his thoughts. She stood at the doorway with a tablet in hand, her brow slightly furrowed. "The board meeting starts in 10 minutes. Do you need me to prepare anything else?" "No, everything's fine," Ethan replied, clearing his throat. He straightened his tie, trying to refocus. "I'll be there in a minute." Claire gave a curt nod and disappeared, leaving him alone once more. Ethan ran a hand over his face, frustrated by his inability to concentrate. What was it about that girl at the car wash that had him so preoccupied? The day passed in a blur of meetings, phone calls, and endless paperwork. By evening, Ethan found himself driving aimlessly again, unable to resist the pull that seemed to lead him back to Carter's car wash. This time, the lot was busier. A few customers stood chatting while their cars were being cleaned, and the faint smell of soap and rubber filled the air. Ethan parked in a corner and stepped out, his eyes scanning the area until they landed on Lily. She was crouched near the hood of a car, her hands moving deftly as she scrubbed away dirt. Her hair was tied back in the same loose ponytail, and there was a faint smudge of soap on her cheek. Ethan approached quietly, watching her work for a moment before speaking. "You're not afraid of getting your hands dirty, are you?" Lily looked up, startled, but a smile quickly spread across her face. "Back again. Didn't I just clean your car yesterday?" Ethan shrugged, his lips curving into a smirk. "What can I say? Best service in town." She laughed, standing up and wiping her hands on a nearby towel. "I'm guessing you're not here for another wash. So, what brings you back?" Ethan hesitated for a moment, then decided to be honest. "I was curious. People like you are ... rare." Lily raised an eyebrow, clearly skeptical. "People like me. Hardworking, honest, not caught up in all the ... noise," Ethan said, gesturing vaguely. Lily crossed her arms, her expression thoughtful. "Well, I guess that makes people like you rare, too." Ethan chuckled, taken aback by her sharp response. "Fair enough. But seriously, why do you do this? Most people your age would be out partying or doing hookup to get money fast." Lily leaned against the car, her gaze distant. "I've never been one to follow the crowd. My dad raised me to value hard work. He's put everything into this business, and the least I can do is help him keep it going. Besides," she added with a small smile, "it's not forever. I'm saving up, finishing school, and after that, who knows, maybe I'll start my own business. Hookup is a dangerous business, which I wouldn't dream of going into." Ethan studied her, impressed by her determination. "What kind of business?" "Something meaningful," she replied. "I don't want to chase money just for the sake of it. I want to build something that makes a difference, something my dad can be proud of." Her words hit Ethan harder than he expected. In his world, success was measured by numbers, stock prices, and accolades. But Lily's idea of success was so much simpler, yet so much more profound. As they talked, Ethan learned more about her life, how her mother had passed away when she was a child, leaving her father to raise her alone, how she had worked part-time jobs throughout secondary school to save for university, how she dreamed of one day giving back to her community. Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of a car horn. A middle-aged man in a battered pickup truck called out to Lily, waving cheerfully. "Lily, don't forget to lock up when you're done." "Got it, Dad," she called back, waving. Ethan watched as her father drove away, a warm smile on his face. "Your dad seems like a good man." "The best," Lily replied. "He's taught me everything I know about integrity and hard work. That's why I help him. He's sacrificed so much for me, and I owe him everything." Ethan nodded, feeling a pang of guilt as he thought about his own strained relationship with his parents. They had given him everything he could ever want, yet their connection felt shallow, built on expectations rather than understanding. Lily glanced at him, her head tilted slightly. "You're not like most of the people who come here, you know." "How so?" "You listen," she said simply. "Most people don't." Ethan wasn't sure how to respond to that. Instead, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card. "If you ever need anything, a job, advice, anything, call me." Lily took the card hesitantly, her expression unreadable. "Thanks, but I'm not looking for handouts." "It's not a handout," Ethan said quickly. "Just an option. For the future." Lily nodded, tucking the card into her pocket. "I appreciate it." As Ethan walked back to his car, he realized he felt lighter somehow. For years, he had been surrounded by people who wanted something from him. But Lily didn't want anything, she simply was. And for the first time in a long while, Ethan felt like he'd found something real. The sound of rain drumming against the penthouse windows filled the silence as Ethan leaned back in his leather chair. The memory of Lily's candid smile lingered in his mind. He had returned from Carter's car wash hours ago, yet her words replayed like a melody that wouldn't leave his head. "You listen. Most people don't." Ethan wasn't used to hearing that. In his world, people talked endlessly, pitching ideas, making demands, flattering him. But how many truly listened? Lily had been different. She didn't fawn over his wealth or status. In fact, she seemed unimpressed by it, which only intrigued him more. He glanced at the clock. Midnight. The city below was alive with activity, but Ethan felt a strange pull to be anywhere but in his luxurious, empty apartment. He thought of the car wash and its unpretentious simplicity. What would Lily think if she saw his world, the penthouse, the private jets, the designer suits? Would she still look at him the same way? He shook his head, frustrated by his own thoughts. Why do I care so much? The next day, Ethan decided to put his curiosity to rest. He left his morning meetings early, telling Claire he needed time to think. As he drove to the car wash, his heart raced, a feeling he hadn't experienced in years. The lot was quieter this time, with only a couple of cars parked near the entrance. Lily stood by the water hose, her back turned as she adjusted the nozzle. Ethan stepped out of his car and approached, clearing his throat. "I'm starting to think you're the only person who works here." Lily turned, startled, before breaking into a smile. "Back again. You must really love clean cars. Or maybe I just like good company," Ethan replied smoothly. Lily laughed, shaking her head. "Flattery won't get you a discount." Ethan chuckled, leaning against the hood of his car. "I'm not here for a wash today." "Then what brings you by?" she asked, setting the hose aside and wiping her hands on a towel. Ethan hesitated. How could he explain the inexplicable pull he felt toward her? Instead, he said, "I wanted to know more about you. Yesterday, you mentioned wanting to start your own business. Have you given it much thought?" Lily's expression softened, her guard lowering slightly. "I think about it all the time. I want to create something that helps people, maybe a community center or a program for underprivileged kids. Something that gives back." Ethan felt a twinge of admiration. In his world, ambition was measured by profit margins and market shares. Lily's ambition was rooted in kindness and service, a stark contrast to everything he knew. "Why kids?" he asked, genuinely curious. "Because I was one of them," Lily admitted, her voice quieter now. "After my mom passed, it was just me and my dad. We struggled for a long time. There were days we barely had enough to get by. But my dad always found a way to make it work. I want to do the same for others, to give them hope when things seem impossible." Ethan was silent, taking in her words. She wasn't just hard-working. She was selfless, driven by a purpose far greater than herself. "You're incredible, you know that," he said softly. Lily blinked, caught off guard. "I'm just ... me. And that's what makes you incredible," Ethan replied. Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of an engine rumbling into the lot. A small sedan pulled up, and a teenage boy stepped out, waving at Lily. "Hey, Lil, Dad said to remind you about dinner." "Got it, Jake," Lily called back, waving. Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Your brother." "My cousin," Lily explained. "He helps out sometimes when my dad's busy. We're a family operation, after all." Ethan smiled, watching as Jake disappeared into the small office. "You're lucky to have such a close family." Lily nodded, her expression turning wistful. "Yeah, I am. They're my everything." For a moment, neither of them spoke, the silence filled only by the faint hum of the water hose. Ethan felt an unfamiliar warmth in his chest, a mix of admiration and something deeper, something he couldn't quite name. "I have a proposition for you," he said suddenly. Lily frowned, wary. "What kind of proposition?" Ethan hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "I'm hosting a charity gala this weekend. It's an annual event to raise funds for underprivileged communities. I think you'd find it ... interesting." Lily's eyebrows shot up. "You're inviting me to a gala?" "Yes," Ethan said, his tone serious. "You'll get to see how these events work and maybe even make some connections for your future plans. It could be a great opportunity." Lily looked at him skeptically. "I'm not exactly the gala type. I don't have a fancy dress or anything like that." "Don't worry about that," Ethan said quickly. "I'll take care of everything." Lily hesitated, clearly unsure. "Why are you doing this?" Ethan met her gaze, his expression earnest. "Because I think you have something special, and I want to help you realize it." Lily studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Okay, but only because it sounds like a good cause." Ethan smiled, relief flooding through him. "You won't regret it." As he left the car wash that day, Ethan couldn't help but feel that this was just the beginning. For the first time in years, he felt truly alive, like he was on the brink of something extraordinarily. Ethan arrived at his penthouse late that evening, feeling a strange mix of excitement and uncertainty. He poured himself a glass of scotch, the amber liquid catching the city lights as he sank into the leather couch. Lily had agreed to attend the gala, a small victory, but one that felt monumental. She was a world apart from the women who usually attended such events. While they were decked out in designer gowns, schooled in social niceties, Lily was grounded, raw, and unpolished. He couldn't help but wonder how she would fare in his world. Yet, that was part of what drew him to her. She wasn't interested in impressing anyone, least of all him, and that made her more intriguing than anyone he'd ever met. The next morning, Ethan made a call to Claire. "Claire, I need you to arrange something," he began. "Of course, sir," Claire replied, her voice crisp and professional. "I need a stylist and a personal shopper to help someone prepare for the gala this weekend. Send them to this address." He recited the address of the car wash, hearing the faint pause on the other end. "Understood," Claire said, though Ethan could sense the curiosity in her tone. "And, Claire," Ethan added, "make sure they're discreet. I don't want this turning into a spectacle." "Yes, sir." Lily was in the middle of cleaning the interior of an old SUV when the sleek black car pulled into the lot. The next day, she straightened up, wiping her hands on her jeans, as two impeccably dressed women stepped out, carrying garment bags and accessories. "Lily Carter," one of them asked, her tone polite but firm. Lily blinked, glancing warily at the two women. "That's me. Can I help you?" "We're here on behalf of Mr. Ethan Blake," the second woman said with a professional smile. "He's asked us to assist you in preparing for the charity gala." Lily's jaw dropped slightly. "Wait, what? Assist me how?" The first woman held up one of the garment bags. "With your attire, hair, makeup, everything you'll need for the event. May we?" Lily glanced around the car wash, feeling suddenly self-conscious. She wasn't used to this kind of attention. Her father, who had been working on a car nearby, approached with a curious expression. "Everything okay, Lil?" I think so," Lily said, still processing. "These ladies are here to help me get ready for that gala I mentioned." Her father's eyes narrowed slightly. "The one you said was for charity, with that guy who's been coming around?" Lily nodded, suddenly acutely aware of her father's protective nature. He studied the women for a moment, then turned to Lily. "If this is what you want, then go ahead. Just make sure you know what you're getting into." Lily nodded again, giving her father a reassuring smile. "Thanks, Dad. I'll be fine." The next few hours were a whirlwind. The stylists transformed Lily's modest appearance into something breathtaking. They selected a deep emerald gown that hugged her figure in all the right places, its simplicity mirroring her personality while still exuding elegance. Her hair was styled in loose waves that framed her face, and her makeup was understated but accentuated her natural beauty. When she finally looked at herself in the mirror, Lily hardly recognized the woman staring back. "You look stunning," one of the stylists said with a warm smile. Lily frowned slightly. "It's a bit much, isn't it? I mean, I'm just me." "That's exactly why this works," the other stylist said. "You don't need anything over the top. You're already beautiful. This just enhances it." The night of the gala arrived, and Ethan stood near the entrance of the grand ballroom, greeting guests as they arrived. The room was a dazzling display of wealth crystal chandeliers, tables adorned with gold accents, and guests dressed in the finest couture. He had attended countless events like this, but tonight felt different. He was waiting for someone who didn't belong to this world, yet whose presence he anticipated more than anyone else's. When Lily finally arrived, escorted by the stylists, Ethan's breath caught. She looked stunning, but it wasn't just the gown or the polished appearance, it was the quiet confidence she exuded, even in the face of such opulence. "You clean up well," Ethan said as she approached, a smile tugging at his lips. Lily rolled her eyes, but couldn't help smiling back. "Thanks, but I still feel like a fish out of water." "You'll do great," Ethan assured her, offering his arm. "Shall we?" As they entered the ballroom together, all eyes turned to them. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Curious murmurs about the unfamiliar woman on Ethan Blake's arm. Lily felt the weight of their stares, but refused to let it show. She focused on Ethan, who seemed completely at ease. Throughout the evening, Ethan introduced Lily to various guest philanthropists, business leaders, and other influential figures. To his surprise, she held her own in every conversation, speaking with a mix of humility and intelligence that left a lasting impression on everyone she met. At one point, Ethan watched from a distance as Lily spoke to an older woman about her dreams of starting a community center. The woman, a prominent donor, seemed captivated by Lily's passion. "She's remarkable," Claire said, appearing at Ethan's side. Ethan glanced at his assistant, who had been quietly observing the evening's events. "She is," Ethan agreed, his voice soft. "She's different from the women you usually bring to these things," Claire added, her tone laced with curiosity. "That's because she's not like anyone I've ever met," Ethan replied. By the end of the night, as the guests began to leave, Ethan escorted Lily to the terrace overlooking the city. The cool night air was a welcome relief from the warmth of the ballroom. "Thank you for coming tonight," Ethan said, his tone sincere. Lily leaned against the railing, gazing at the city lights. "It was overwhelming, but in a good way. I learned a lot. I told you it would be a good opportunity," Ethan said with a smile. Lily turned to him, her expression serious. "But why me, Ethan? You could have brought anyone tonight. Why go through all this trouble for someone like me?" Ethan met her gaze, his eyes steady. "Because you're not someone like you. You're unique. Lily, you're smart, grounded, and honest. I've spent years surrounded by people who only see my money, my power. But you see me." Lily looked away, her cheeks flushing. She wasn't used to such open admiration, and it left her feeling both flattered and vulnerable. "I don't know what to say," she admitted. "You don't have to say anything," Ethan said gently. "Just let me prove that I see you, too." For the first time in years, Lily felt the walls she had built around herself begin to crack. The days following the gala were a whirlwind for both Ethan and Lily, but for entirely different reasons. For Ethan, it was business as usual, meetings, phone calls, and managing his vast empire. Yet, his thoughts often drifted back to Lily, the way she had held her own at the event, her quiet humility, and the fire in her eyes when she spoke about her dreams. For Lily, the gala had been nothing short of a revelation. She had stepped into a world so different from her own, and while it had been intimidating, it had also shown her possibilities she hadn't dared to imagine. But she couldn't ignore the nagging voice in her head. Why me? Why would someone like Ethan Blake take an interest in someone like me? Perhaps he was just being a good man and nothing more. She was scrubbing down another car at the wash when her cousin Jake approached her, holding a phone. "It's him again," Jake said with a teasing grin. Lily narrowed her eyes, snatching the phone. "Don't eavesdrop, Jake. I wasn't. He just has that voice, you know. Smooth, rich guy vibes. Go away," Lily muttered, walking to the corner of the lot. She pressed the phone to her ear. "Hello, Lily." Ethan's familiar voice greeted her. "How's my favorite car washer today?" She rolled her eyes but smiled despite herself. "Busy, as usual. Not all of us can escape work to make phone calls, you know." "True," Ethan admitted. "But I have a good excuse. I need a favor." Lily frowned, her curiosity piqued. "A favor? I'm visiting one of my properties just outside the city. It's a farm I inherited from my grandparents, and I'm considering converting it into a retreat center. I could use a fresh perspective, someone who isn't surrounded by corporate yes men." Lily hesitated, unsure. "Why me? Don't you have consultants for that?" "I do," Ethan said, "but they don't have your honesty. And they certainly don't have your knack for seeing the bigger picture. They will always do things to impress me, but you will not. You say it the way it is." She bit her lip, torn between suspicion and flattery. "I'm not sure I'm qualified for something like that. Trust me, you are," Ethan said confidently. "It's just a quick trip. Say yes, and I'll even let you drive." Lily laughed. "You must be desperate. Who told you that I know how to drive? Is that a yes? A car washer like you. I know that you are a good driver." There was a pause, and then Lily sighed. "Fine, but if this turns out to be some kind of elaborate prank, I'm going to be very unhappy." "Noted," Ethan said, a smile evident in his voice. "I'll pick you up tomorrow morning." The next day, Ethan arrived at the car wash in a sleek black SUV. Lily emerged from the office, her casual jeans and flannel shirt, a stark contrast to the polished world Ethan inhabited. Yet, as she climbed into the passenger seat, Ethan found himself smiling. "Ready for an adventure?" he asked, pulling onto the road. Lily gave him a sidelong glance. "If by adventure you mean driving to a farm, sure." The 2-hour drive was filled with conversation. Ethan shared stories about his grandparents and their love for the land, while Lily talked about her childhood and the August holidays she'd spent helping her father fix cars. When they arrived at the farm, Lily was taken aback. The sprawling property was a patchwork of rolling fields, orchards, and a large lake that glimmered under the midday sun. A charming farmhouse sat at the heart of it all, its white paint weathered but still inviting. "This is beautiful," Lily said, stepping out of the car. "It is," Ethan agreed, his voice tinged with nostalgia. "I spent a lot of my childhood here. My grandparents always believed in living simply, staying connected to nature." As they walked through the fields, Ethan explained his vision for the property. "I want to turn this into a retreater place, where people can disconnect from their busy lives and find peace. Maybe even offer programs for families or underprivileged kids." Lily stopped, looking at him in surprise. "That's not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "I don't know. Something more corporate." Ethan smiled. "Not everything I do is about profit. My grandparents taught me that some things are more important than money." They continued exploring, with Lily offering suggestions and pointing out areas that could be improved. Her practical insights impressed Ethan, who found himself listening more than he spoke, a rare occurrence. By the time they returned to the farmhouse, the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Ethan opened the trunk of the SUV, pulling out a picnic basket. "You planned this, didn't you?" Lily asked, raising an eyebrow. "Guilty," Ethan admitted. "I thought we could use a break." They sat by the lake, the water reflecting the vibrant colors of the sky. As they ate, their conversation grew more personal. "This is rich men treat. I feel out of place in your world," Lily said suddenly, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "How? You don't need to feel out of place. We are all human, whether rich or poor. Besides, you are also rich in your own way," Ethan said. The air between them grew heavy, charged with unspoken emotions. Lily looked away, unsure of how to respond. "I should probably head back," she said after a moment. Ethan nodded, though he felt reluctant to leave. Of course. As they drove back to the city, the silence was comfortable, each of them lost in their thoughts. For the first time in a long while, Ethan felt hopeful, not just about his vision for the farm, but about the possibility of something more. Lily, meanwhile, wrestled with the growing connection she felt to Ethan. She had always been cautious, guarding her heart against disappointment, but with Ethan, she felt herself beginning to trust, even as part of her fear of getting too close. Although he hadn't said much, but she wasn't a child. The green light was there. When he dropped her off at the car wash that evening, Ethan hesitated. "Thank you for today. Your perspective means more than you know." "Thanks for inviting me," Lily replied, her voice soft. As she walked toward the office, Ethan called out, "Lily." She turned, her heart skipping a beat. "You're more qualified than you think," he said simply. Lily smiled, the words lingering in her mind long after Ethan drove away. The following week, Ethan found himself juggling a packed schedule, while replaying moments from the day at the farm in his mind. For someone used to making quick decisions and moving on, this was unusual. He wasn't just drawn to Lily, he admired her, her honesty, her work ethic, and her ability to challenge him without even trying made her stand out in a way he hadn't expected. Meanwhile, at the car wash, Lily tried to bury herself in her usual routine, but her thoughts betrayed her. Every time she scrubbed a car or managed her father's accounts, she caught herself thinking about Ethan's words, "You're more qualified than you think." It wasn't just about the farm. It felt like he had been talking about her as a person, about her worth. That evening, as she helped her father close up, she finally broke her silence. "Dad, what would you say if I told you someone thinks I'm capable of more than this?" Her father looked up from the ledger he was reviewing. "More than what?" "Working hard, building something for yourself. That's nothing to be ashamed of, Lily." "I know," she said quickly. "It's not that I'm ashamed. It's just, what if I could do more, make a bigger impact?" Her father set down his pen, studying her closely. "This is about that guy, isn't it? The billionaire." Lily flushed, partly. "But it's not just him. The gala, the farm. It's like I've seen this whole other world where I could make a difference. And it scares me because I don't know if I belong there." Her father nodded thoughtfully. "Lily, you've always been the kind of person who gives everything to what you do, whether it's washing cars, helping around here, or dreaming about something bigger. You put your heart into it. If this is something you feel called to do, then don't let fear stop you. But remember, stay true to yourself, no matter where life takes you." Lily smiled, her father's words settling something inside her. "Thanks, Dad." A few days later, Ethan showed up at the car wash unannounced. He leaned casually against his car, watching as Lily wiped down a freshly washed sedan. "You know, I think I might start bringing my car here every week," he called out, grinning. Lily turned, smirking at him. "At this rate, you'll have the cleanest car in the city." "Not a bad reputation to have," Ethan replied, stepping closer. "How about dinner tonight?" "My treat." Lily raised an eyebrow. "Ethan, you've been here 3 times this week. People are going to start talking." "Let them," he said with a shrug. "I'm not hiding anything." Lily hesitated. Part of her wanted to say no, to protect herself from whatever this was becoming. But the larger part of her, the one that couldn't stop thinking about him, said yes. That evening, Ethan took Lily to a quiet Italian restaurant, tucked away in a less glamorous part of the city. It wasn't the kind of flashy place she had expected, and she appreciated the intimacy of it. As they shared a plate of fried rice and chicken, Ethan leaned back in his chair, watching her. "You're surprised I picked this place," he said. "A little," Lily admitted. "I thought billionaires only ate at places with names I can't pronounce." Ethan chuckled. "I get enough of that in my daily life. Sometimes, simple is better. It reminds me of what's real." Lily looked at him thoughtfully. "You keep saying that about wanting something real. What does that mean for you?" Ethan's smile faded slightly, replaced by a more serious expression. "It means I'm tired of people seeing me as a wallet. My whole life, I've been surrounded by people who want something from me. Money, power, connections. But with you, it's different. You challenge me, Lily. You make me think about things I've taken for granted." Lily's cheeks warmed, and she looked down at her plate. "I don't know what to say to that." "You don't have to say anything," Ethan said gently. "I just wanted you to know how much I value having you around me as a friend. I should be the one thanking you for being around me. Some people would pay to stay close to you, Ethan, because they want something from me, but you are real. I am happy that you are my friend." The vulnerability in his voice surprised Lily. She had always seen Ethan as confident and self-assured, but in this moment, he seemed almost human. "Thank you," she said softly. Over the next few weeks, Ethan and Lily grew closer. Ethan made it a point to visit the car wash regularly, often under the guise of needing another wash or just wanting to chat. Lily, for her part, found herself looking forward to his visits, though she tried not to let it show. One afternoon, as they sat on the hood of Ethan's car sharing a bag of fries, Lily asked, "What do your parents think about you spending so much time here?" Ethan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "They've been skeptical. They don't understand why. I won't just settle down with one of the women they've introduced me to, but I've told them I need to make my own decisions." "Sounds complicated," Lily said. "It is," Ethan admitted, "but I'm willing to deal with it." "What about your dad? Has he said anything about me?" Lily smirked. "He thinks you're a distraction, but he trusts me to make my own choices." Ethan chuckled. "Fair enough. I guess I'll have to work on earning his approval." Lily tilted her head, her expression serious. "Approval? Why are you doing this, Ethan? Spending so much time here, with me? What's your endgame?" Ethan met her gaze, his blue eyes steady. "There is no endgame. I just know that being around you makes me feel grounded."
Like I'm finally seeing what really matters. I learn a lot from you. Lily's breath caught, the sincerity in his words shaking something loose inside her. She had spent so long building walls around her heart, but with Ethan, those walls felt less sturdy every day. "I don't know where this is going," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "Neither do I," Ethan said, "but I'm willing to find out if you are." For the first time, Lily allowed herself to hope. Lily's days started to feel like they belonged to two different worlds. By morning, she was at the car wash, scrubbing dirt from bumpers and chatting with loyal customers. By evening, she found herself tangled in conversations with Ethan, either over dinner, during long walks, or sometimes just sitting by the car wash office while they shared coffee. The simplicity of her life was blending with the complexity of his, and though she tried to maintain her footing, cracks began to form in the fragile balance she'd created. It wasn't long before whispers began circulating in her neighborhood. Customers at the car wash would casually drop hints about the man in the suit who visited her so often. Her cousin Jake found endless opportunities to tease her about her billionaire boyfriend, though she denied there was anything official between them. But the most challenging part came when Ethan decided it was time for her to meet his parents. It was a Saturday evening when Ethan pulled up to the car wash, dressed in a crisp navy blazer and jeans. "Lily," he called, leaning against his car. "Do you have plans tonight?" Lily, busy counting change at the register, looked up suspiciously. "Why? What do you have in mind?" He grinned. "I'd like you to meet my parents." "What?" Her heart skipped a beat. "Nothing formal," Ethan said quickly. "Just dinner. I want them to see the woman who's been occupying so much of my time." Lily frowned, wiping her hands on her apron. "Ethan, I don't know if that's a good idea. I mean, what if they don't like me?" "They'll love you," Ethan said confidently. I don't belong in your world, Lily murmured. Ethan stepped closer, his voice soft. Lily, you belong wherever you want to be, and if that includes my world, then that's where you'll be. She sighed, torn between fear and the desire to see where this journey might lead. But then she thought inwardly, he is only a friend. If they like me or not, that's their problem. I am not his girlfriend after all. Fine, but if they throw me out, I'm blaming you, she said finally. Ethan laughed. Deal. The Blake family estate was everything Lily imagined and more. A sprawling mansion surrounded by meticulously landscaped gardens, its grandeur made her feel small and out of place. She had never been to such a place in all her life. As Ethan led her up the marble steps, she gripped his arm tightly. I feel like I should have worn something fancier, she whispered, glancing at her simple dress. You look perfect, Ethan reassured her. Inside, the atmosphere was warm but formal. Ethan's mother, Margaret, was the first to greet them. She was a tall woman with an air of sophistication, her perfectly coiffed hair and tailored dress a testament to her high standards. So this is Lily, Margaret said, her eyes scanning Lily from head to toe. Her tone was unkind, and it carried an edge of curiosity. Yes, Mom, this is Lily, Ethan said, his voice firm. Lily was quiet, sweeping her eyes across the whole place. Although she tried very hard to comport herself, she isn't one of the village girls that came to the city. They always act so timid in Nollywood movies. Ethan's father, Richard, entered moments later. A man of few words, he greeted Lily with a nod, his expression unreadable. Dinner was a formal affair, with servants discreetly placing dishes of roasted lamb and seasoned vegetables before them. Lily sat stiffly, aware of every movement, every glance. So, Lily, Margaret began, folding her napkin neatly in her lap. Ethan tells us you work at a car wash? Lily swallowed hard, feeling the weight of the question. Yes, ma'am, my father owns it, and I help out when I'm not studying. I'm in my 3rd year at the university, majoring in business administration. Margaret raised an eyebrow. Answer one at a time. Yes, ma'am, I am sorry for that. Ethan felt like speaking to his mother, but he kept his cool. Okay, business administration? Interesting. What do you plan to do with that degree? I'd like to start my own business someday, Lily said, her voice steady despite her nerves. Something small but meaningful, maybe a community-driven project. Margaret's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. That's ambitious. Mom, Ethan interjected, his tone warning. It's all right, Lily said, meeting Margaret's gaze. I know my ambitions may seem modest compared to what you're used to, but I believe in building something meaningful from the ground up. That's how my father raised me. Lily knew that if you allowed the rich people, they would use you to play football. It was better to be agile in front of them than to act cowardly. Margaret studied her for a moment, her expression softening slightly. I see. Richard finally spoke, his deep voice breaking the tension. It's rare to find someone who values hard work these days. I respect that. Ethan shot his father a grateful look, and the rest of the dinner passed more smoothly. After the meal, Ethan and Lily excused themselves to walk in the garden. The cool evening air was a welcome relief from the pressure of the dinner table. You held your own, Ethan said, his voice filled with admiration. Barely, Lily muttered. Your mom was intense. She's just protective, Ethan said. And my dad, he doesn't say much, but if he respects you, that's a big deal. Lily smiled faintly, her nerves beginning to ease. I'm not sure I'm cut out for this, Ethan. The scrutiny, the expectations. You don't have to be anyone but yourself, Ethan said, taking her hand. That's what I want. That's what they'll see in time. Lily looked at him, her heart swelling with gratitude and something deeper, something that scared her as much as it thrilled her. But then a thought was asking her, who are you to this man? He hadn't said anything straight to you, but now you have given your heart to him. What if? Okay, she said quietly. Ethan smiled, squeezing her hand. That's all I ask. Later that night, as Ethan drove her home, Lily stared out the window, her mind racing. She had stepped into Ethan's world tonight, and while it had been daunting, it had also shown her that maybe, just maybe, she could find her place there one day. But in the back of her mind, a small voice whispered, what happens when the walls of these two worlds collide? The days following the dinner at the Blake estate were a mixture of relief and uncertainty for Lily. While she had managed to survive the intense scrutiny of Ethan's parents, the experience had left her questioning her place in his life. Ethan's world was luxurious, structured, and far removed from the simplicity of her own. She knew very well that even if Ethan wanted her as a wife, his family would never accept her. It wasn't going to be possible. Ethan, on the other hand, was undeterred. If anything, the evening had strengthened his resolve to show Lily that she belonged by his side, no matter what obstacles lay ahead. He was doing it to introduce her to all his life before saying the main thing. Lily was the woman for her. Although he knew that his family wouldn't take it lightly, especially his mother. It was a bright Wednesday afternoon when Ethan arrived at the car wash again. He leaned casually against his car, watching as Lily worked, her sleeves rolled up and a determined look on her face. He loved how unpretentious she was, completely unbothered by her surroundings or the dirt streaking her hands. "Don't you have a company to run?" Lily asked, not looking up as she scrubbed the side of a car. "Delegation is a skill I've mastered," Ethan replied with a grin. Lily stood, wiping her hands on a rag. "You're becoming a regular here. People are starting to think you're scouting to buy the place." "Maybe I'm scouting for something else," Ethan said, his tone playful. Lily rolled her eyes but couldn't help the small smile that tugged at her lips. "What?" Ethan chuckled but didn't say anything. "So why are you really here?" Ethan's expression turned serious. "I want to take you somewhere. Are you up for an adventure?" Lily hesitated. "Ethan, I'm not sure I have time for your spontaneous escapades today. There's a long line of cars, and my dad's out running errands." "I cleared it with Jake," Ethan said confidently. "He's got things covered." Lily knew that Jake would never agree that she had nothing special with Ethan, that he was only a good friend of hers and nothing more. "From a good friend, you people will enter into a relationship," Jake had said. Lily groaned after thinking, "Ethan, you're impossible. And yet you're still coming with me," Ethan said, holding out his hand. Lily stared at his outstretched hand for a moment before sighing and taking it. "You're lucky I like adventures." Ethan drove her out of the city, the scenery gradually shifting from bustling streets to sprawling fields. Lily couldn't help but wonder what he had planned this time. "Are you kidnapping me?" she joked, glancing at him. "Would you let me?" Ethan teased. "That depends. Is there food involved?" Ethan laughed. "Always." After about an hour, they pulled into the driveway of a modest but charming cottage surrounded by wildflowers. Large mango trees shaded the yard, and a swing hung from one of its sturdy branches. "What is this place?" Lily asked, stepping out of the car. "This was my grandparents' first home," Ethan explained, his voice soft with nostalgia. "They lived here when they were newlyweds before they bought the farm." Lily looked around, taking in the quaint charm of the place. "It's beautiful. Why are we here?" "I thought you'd appreciate it," Ethan said. "They built this place with their own hands. My grandfather laid the blocks. My grandmother planted every flower you see here. She lived her life like those Americans she saw in the movies." Lily smiled, touched by the story. "It's incredible. Yes, I also live the way they plant flowers." "Sometimes I think about what it must have been like for them," Ethan said, staring at the house. "They didn't have much, but they built a life together. A real life. That's what I want, Lily. Not just wealth or success, but something genuine. Someone who's willing to build with me, no matter how hard it gets. Lily, be my wife and I will be the happiest man on earth." Ethan said with one knee on the ground and his hands stretched out with a ring. Lily's breath caught and her eyes widened. She didn't see it coming. She had prayed for a day like that, but right now she wished that day never came. The sincerity in his voice, the rawness of his words, it was unlike anything she'd ever heard from him. "Ethan," she began, her voice hesitant, "you know I care about you. But this, what you're asking for, it's not easy for me. Your world, it's overwhelming. And I don't know if your family will ever accept me." Ethan turned to her, his gaze steady. "You don't have to fit into my world, Lily. We can create our own, together. My family won't make a choice for me." Lily looked away, her emotions swirling. She wanted to believe him, to trust that what they had could work. But deep down, she feared for what his family would say. She knew his mother would not accept her as a daughter-in-law. She was a nobody, a female car wash. "I need time," she said finally. Ethan nodded, his expression understanding. take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere." As they drove back to the city, the air between them was filled with unspoken words. Ethan respected her need for space, but he also knew that waiting wouldn't be easy. For Lily, the visit to the cottage had stirred something deep within her, a longing for something more, something real. But the path to that life felt uncertain, filled with challenges she wasn't sure she was ready to face. When Ethan dropped her off at the car wash, she lingered for a moment, her hand on the door handle. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for showing me that place." "Anytime," Ethan replied, his voice warm. Ethan watched her walk away, his hand brushing his head. For the first time in years, he felt something he hadn't allowed himself to feel: hope. The days following their visit to the cottage brought an odd sense of quiet between Ethan and Lily. It wasn't tension, but rather the kind of silence that comes when two people are deep in thought, unsure of their next steps. For Ethan, the quiet was a test of patience. He'd made his feelings clear, but now the ball was in Lily's court. He wasn't used to waiting. His life was one of decisions made swiftly, deals struck on the spot. But this wasn't a business deal. It was his heart, and he was willing to wait as long as Lily needed. For Lily, the silence was filled with self-reflection. Her heart yearned for the simplicity and authenticity she saw in Ethan's vision of a shared life, but her mind couldn't ignore the challenges ahead. The glaring differences in their worlds made her feel like an outsider, no matter how much Ethan assured her otherwise. His mother. She was another rolling block on that path. One evening, as Lily helped her father close up the car wash, he noticed her distracted demeanor. "You've been quiet lately," he said, wiping his hands on a rag. "What's on your mind?" Lily hesitated, unsure how much to reveal. "It's Ethan. He's serious about me, Dad. About us. And she paused, trying to find the right words. "I don't know if I can handle everything that comes with him. His family." Her father set down the rag and looked at her intently. "Lily, love isn't about having all the answers right away. It's about taking a chance, trusting that you can figure your things out together. The question is, do you want to take that chance?" Lily bit her lip, her father's words striking a chord. "I do. But his world? It's overwhelming." "Then take it one step at a time," her father said gently. "If Ethan's the man you believe he is, he'll walk with you through it all. But don't let fear decide for you. You've got too much strength for that." Later that night, Lily found herself lying awake, staring at the ceiling. Her father's words echoed in her mind, but so did her own fears. What if she wasn't enough for Ethan's world? What if, despite his reassurances, she got lost in the shadows of his wealth and influence? Her thoughts were interrupted by a soft vibration on her phone. Ethan's name lit up the screen. "Ethan, I was just thinking about you. Hope I'm not bothering you this late." A smile tugged at her lips. She hesitated for only a moment before replying. "Lily, you're not bothering me. Couldn't sleep anyway." "Ethan, same here. Want to talk?" Before she could reply, her phone buzzed with an incoming call. She answered, her voice soft. "Hi," Ethan said, his tone equally gentle. "I didn't mean to wake you." "You didn't," Lily assured him. "What's on your mind?" "You," Ethan admitted. "I've been thinking about us, about how much I want this to work." Lily's heart ached at the sincerity in his voice. "Ethan, I want it to work too. But I'm scared. Your life, it's so different from mine. Your family, they will never accept me." "I know," Ethan said, "and I know it's not going to be easy. But Lily, I believe we're worth the effort, don't you?" She closed her eyes, her resolve softening. "I do." "Then let's figure it out together," Ethan said, "step by step. No pressure, no rush, just us." A small laugh escaped her. "You make it sound so simple." "Maybe it is," Ethan said. "When it's real, it doesn't have to be complicated." For the first time in days, Lily felt a sense of peace. "Okay," she mumbled, "let's figure it out." The next morning, Lily woke up feeling lighter than she had in weeks. Her conversation with Ethan had reminded her of the strength they shared, a strength rooted in mutual respect and a genuine connection. But life had a way of testing even the strongest bonds. At Ethan's office, trouble was brewing. A Niger reporter had caught wind of his frequent visits to the car wash, the day he proposed to Lily, and had started digging into Lily's background. A headline emerged: "Billionaire Blake's mystery woman, from rags to riches?" Ethan's assistant, Sarah, brought the article to his attention. You might want to handle this before it spirals, she said, placing the newspaper on his desk. Ethan's jaw tightened as he scanned the article. It was full of half-truths and invasive speculation about Lily's life and their relationship. He could only imagine how Lily would feel when she saw it. How did they capture the day he proposed to her? That only meant that someone was stalking him? But who? Who could that be? All these had no answer. Have the legal team issue a statement, Ethan said. I want this taken down immediately. Understood, Sarah said. But you might want to prepare Lily. This could get messy. Ethan nodded grimly. Protecting Lily had become his top priority, but he knew that shielding her from the public eye would be an uphill battle. Lily hadn't even accepted his proposal. And that afternoon, Ethan showed up at the car wash, the newspaper tucked under his arm. Lily was wiping down a car when she saw him, her face lighting up with a smile that quickly faded when she noticed his serious expression. What's wrong? She asked, walking over to him. Ethan hesitated.